And we're live. Hello, mortals. I hope you're all in great health, great physical health, and of sound mind. And if you're not, well, what's life without a little pain and insanity? Let's forget about the whole Saturday thingy. I was obviously busy, but from now on, I will be able to stick to the schedule. Yeah, so let's pretend that didn't happen. I'm obviously aware of some of the shortcomings of the show, audio and whatnot. Yes, first things first, don't complain. You get to see this and hear this. This is me rocking your world. I know. Just cross your legs and enjoy the show. But saying the fact that I am a good God, I will get microphones. Actually, I was supposed to get it last week. I was going to get a Samsung Q7. I'm going to start with that and then work my way to the Rode Procaster. Then, yeah, that's the one I want, or the Shure. But my person does not have that one, and I don't want to have to get it from Amazon. It takes time. Or I will still get it from Amazon, but I understand what I need, things I need to get, and then 4K cameras. I know, I want to splurge. And obviously an ultra modern studio. All this for a hobby. Yeah, because you are all worth this. So I think from the next episode or the episode after that, I will be able to sort out the mics, the 4K cameras, and then once my tolerance for you mere mortals increase, more elasticity for for your existence, I will throw in the camera. What else do I need? And the studio and production. Obviously, I need much better production. I can learn, which I am doing, but just time on my hands is it. So yeah. Today's topic is a pretty good one. Not because I came up with it or I'm going to discuss it. No, I mean that is there, but this is one of those that we all do, one way or another. We all partake in this psychologically. We all play this thought experiment. We all partake in this psychologically, and we all perform some sort of exercise around this almost every day, and we have been doing this for as long as we became conscious. Because I believe, I do believe, and the evidence is out there, every human does try to play God. We see things we do not like in nature and we want it changed. We wish it changed. We hope for it to be changed, or we go out and exercise action to change something we do not like or something we believe can be altered. Even if it cannot be altered, we will try. That's what makes us special. We are gods. So, yes, I know there's still one big guy out there, or a girl, or a group of guys and girls having a laugh. I think they're aliens. I think they are scientists, aliens from another planet just having a great time. I would do this. I would create us just for laughs. We are funny. Especially a handful of us that are quite hilarious. That's the only reason this game is going on. It's not because God, God loves you. No, He loves me and other deeply disturbed people because we are entertaining. This topic, you guys, as I've mentioned, it's one that we were all playing, but now I want us to do it with a little bit of structure and focus. this episode is not actually, we're not going to do a very deep dive into every aspect of this. We're going to have more of a slightly deeper paintbrush over this topic, and then we'll break it down, and I'll run it as a series and then break it down and then touch on individual points, because these are very large ideas and concepts. The topic is, if you were God, or you were just given the power to, how would you design your own country? What will be the design? What is it? How would your country look like? How would your country feel like? What are the mechanisms that control the underlying of how things operate? Would you have a state religion? Would do you like it, would you want a 4-weather system? Do you want a 2-weather system? Do you want to invent a 16-weather system? So this, you're allowed to design your world in any way. How would your world look like? What kind of class or social systems will there be? Do you think you can design utopia, nirvana? If your people were given a chance, given ultimate freedom, would they want to stay in your country? Do you enjoy staying in whatever country you're in right now? Do you enjoy your time there? Do you want to live and die there with no qualms? The country you live in, is it the best example of what humans can do? If you look around, do you go, oh, that's a better country? Or do you go, nah, we've got it on lockdown? So, but if you were to change things, what would you change? What would you actually change? So that's what this episode is about. I've wrestled with this question ever since I, started creating, fantasy in my mind, especially in terms of building worlds. I grew up, my first earlier years was in Nigeria, and then I moved out of the country. So, but I was very conscious of certain lacks. I was very conscious of how the system, and I did not understand the system, but I was conscious that there was a lapse-in, and I was conscious that I did not like the aesthetics. I was very conscious of that. I remember I looked around me and wanted to change the world because I didn't like the design. I did not like roads. I did not like people peeing on the roads. I did not like how dirty the roads were because I had television. I could see what others have built. I remember watching, was it Gene Hackman in, what movie was it? It was a high-speed chase. And then it hit me, I was like, can I have a high-speed chase here in my country at that time? When I was in skyscrapers of New York City and Chicago, this is before I ever visited the cities, I understood there are better, higher ways of playing this whole community game that we're playing. And as time has gone, obviously my knowledge, real knowledge of the world of data, of economics and architecture and politics and philosophy and sociology has increased. I've obviously played this game in my mind much sharper. So this is just a little stab at it. As I said, we're not going to go too deep into it. I'll give you guys just a deep paintbrush and then we'll build on this. So how would I design my country and what does this entail? I will give you the rules so we know how to move forward. First things first, when you're designing in this game, we want to design this country, we can be as fantasy driven as we want to be. I don't want to hold you guys back, but I want to bring in some reality. So we are structured to achieving specific goals, okay? The first, in terms of fantasy, you can move your country anywhere. It can be situated anywhere. Your country can be designed in any way. You can have a country, in a continent or a standalone country, almost something like North America or Australasia. You can go for something like that, or Japan. You can choose countries like that. Sri Lanka, complete islands, and so on and so forth. You can put them anywhere. You can get any weather system you want. You can get any topographical elements. You can have mountains and valleys in the same country, and you can have a wide range of topographical features, just completely different. That go as wild as you want. But the reality aspect is, number one, you cannot determine if your people will be happy. You can only build the country and keep people in mind as you're building the country, because the goal is for them to be happy, right? So you just have to build the country. That's your goal, and they will decide if they want to stay. The other reality is, that's it. Basically, that's the only way I want to hold you guys back. But otherwise, you can build whatever you want to build, as long as it can be built with whatever system and technology that we have. You can think a little further ahead of some future tech and employ it, but also think deeply on more important aspects about the mechanisms. So let's dive in. Mine, we're going to dive into mine now, and then I want yours, and then I want you to chat with it on YouTube or Instagram, where you guys can send me a personal message or DM me. Mine is the kingdom of my Kelly. Oh shit. No. Scratch that. I don't know why I said my Kelly here, and I don't want this to hang. So let's go with the kingdom of Bulabuya. That's my kingdom. Bulabuya. And I'm going to forget my kingdom's name. Kingdom of Cheese. King Cheese. I am the King Cheese of the Kingdom of Cheese. That's it. And we're going to split this into two ways. We're going to do an internal system. I mean, the external, how the country looks, the weather system, the architecture, the design of your state, the layout. How do you want it to look like? What type of systems do you want operating externally? Hemisphere, so southern, northern, what type of complete weather pattern systems do you want? And then we go internally into, the political systems, the family units, the tenets that the countries, that the culture stands on. What culture would you have? Races of your citizens. This is important, okay? So all of this is encapsulated under the, under the internal mechanistic parts of how you build your country. So let's get into deep cheese. Okay. First of all, my Kelly, the kingdom of cheese, will be located in the middle of North America, South America, and Africa. Probably just somewhere smack in the middle of these three continents. Probably Europe too. Okay, in the middle of these four continents, so somewhere smack there. I want to be an island, almost an island country continents, large-scale country continents. So just imagine Australia, just in the middle of North America, Africa, South America. There's somewhere there. Okay, this is North America. We're somewhere here. Africa is somewhere here. Europe is here. South America is here, right? So I want it to be the size of Canada, the United States, and Mexico combined. Okay, so you just squash them in and you have a country continent. I have been lucky enough to live in different countries and experience certain different things, like the difference in the complete weather patterns from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, depending on where your country is located on the globe. So just to make it easier, in most part of the world, right now we are just getting out of winter and we're getting into spring, and after spring comes autumn, and then summer, and after spring comes summer, after summer comes autumn, after autumn comes winter. Most part of the world, and some part of the world you just have your cool time and your wet time and your hot time, but it all goes within a specific calendar period. December, January, February, March is cool cold and cooler, and then we get into June, July, which is summer, and then we get into autumn, which is, pre-winter, before winter, September, October, November, then we jump into winter again, December. But some countries are the opposite. When it's winter for us, it's summer for them. So when it's winter in Nigeria, when it's winter in Europe, it's summer in South Africa. When we're experiencing cold weather in West Africa, it is very warm down in the south. Okay, so I want both systems in my country. So that's why I want a country that is that large, because I want the 70% of the country to enjoy the northern hemisphere weather that has a 4 weather system: winter, summer, autumn, spring, and then the bottom south. The bottom south, that's the southern part of the country, will experience the opposite weather. So when it's winter here, it's summer here. So I want that. I want 80-20. That means 80% of the country enjoys perfect weather, and then 20% around the edges of the country, you go to the extreme weather. So, for example, during winter in my kingdom, it would be from, let's say, winter is from 8 degrees to -8 degrees, but extreme will be from -9 degrees all the way to -40, -48 degrees. So you can imagine how cold that is. And I want my citizens to be split into two, 70-30 or 80-20, where 70% live traditionally within confines of developed city, metropolis. But I still want a 30% or 20% living at the outskirts, raised in the elements, and have traditional, roots in their land, because I still want a traditional feel, and this is how I want it. Plus, it'll be good for my citizens, for extreme sports, for scientific research, and also I think it still makes us very strong to live in extreme. It makes us very innovative and very creative, because of problem solving in extreme weathers, and that skill set will help us as we go to other planets and realize that temperature and weather is extreme outside of Earth. We know that already thanks to astrophysics, but I believe these little things matter a lot, and I don't want to change much of it. So that's the weather and the system, and how the state is designed and the topography. So imagine I'm going to have 5 main states, okay, in the kingdom. I'm going to break it into quadrants, so north, south, west, east, okay? And then in the middle will be the state capital, okay? It will be a man-made capital in the exact middle. It'll have 1,000 man-made lakes, but we'll get to that later. So we have that smack in the middle, okay? Each quadrant is this large-scale quadrant, right? Each will be a mega state. So the northern part of our state, but it's not different. People, these are just how we divide them. Now, in each state, we're going to have 8 mega cities, okay? Large-scale cities. In each city is broken down further into 8 boroughs, so 8 sections. So boroughs, like for example, let's say you go to New York State, right? In New York State, you have New York City, and in New York City is broken down into 5 boroughs. You have Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queensboro, and Staten Island. Okay, so in this we have 8 boroughs, but these are large-scale, large-scale areas within the city. Okay, and each will be specialized in different things. So the residential aspect will take 2 boroughs, and then we have agriculture in 1 borough. We have the agriculture in 1 borough, and each city is self-sustainable, because if each city has 1 entire borough for planting and developing food, from horizontal to vertical farming to hydroponic farming to traditional farming methods, you will be sustained. And then I will have one for entertainment, family entertainment, basically an entire borough will be run by the private sector, so everyone will be forced to develop their own style of what they think entertainment is. So this will include Six Flags, digital theme parks, physical theme parks, super high-speed theme parks, which will serve each city, and it'll also attract tourism from people from all the cities who will come, because each city will have completely different design type of theme parks because they're going to be given to the private sector, and the local citizens will be able to develop it based on their own tastes. And then we're also going to have sewage and industrial manufacturing in one borough, and then we're going to have one more borough, which is the last borough, which would be the cityscape. Like Manhattan in New York, where you have all the tall buildings, that is a cityscape. So I want to have one super scale size Manhattan, which is the entire size of London, for example, which is dedicated strictly for just for high functioning businesses, for companies and corporations, and super high level manufacturing like microchips and drones, for example. So this is how I want the state to operate. But I also want to give, there are going to be some rules. So, for example, there will be a Las Vegas in every state. So while we have 5 states, there'll be a Vegas, except in the capital, there'll be a Vegas type, Vegas or Macau type state. There'll be national military installations in every state, and in every city there'll be one military barracks, and then obviously law enforcement police barracks, because safety is key. We'll have a commercial capital in every state, so instead of having just one major commercial city, you would have one uber major commercial capital cities in every quadrant. So you basically have your New York, Melbourne, Tokyo, and Zurich. You basically have these places constantly operating and being magnetic poles of commercial activities for each quadrant. Okay. What else is there for the topography and the state design and the architecture? Landscapes is everything. I love landscapes. I've been very lucky to see a lot of beautiful landscapes in different continents. So I definitely want a fusion of those. South Africa, for example, is one of the top 10 landscapes on the planet. So I definitely want a mixture of topographies. In the entire north, will be heavily mountainous region, but there'll be mountains in every quadrant, right? So while the north will be more like Montana, and parts of Utah and British Columbia in Canada, very majestic, super large mountains, snow-capped mountains, and that's topography. Towards the east will be a mixture of the rolling hills you have in Tuscany, okay, plus it would have coastlines. It would be more like California state. And then the entire southern part will be super massive. It will be a rainforest state. So you can imagine it, in New South Wales in Australia, the entire state is the world's largest rainforest, a combination of the Congo rainforest and the Amazon, just beautiful. So it will have its own massive mountains and ridges and valleys and hills. Then towards the west, I want a desert, but I want a living desert, a desert with an oasis. Every 500 miles, you have an oasis. It's going to be a semi-green desert, great weather, and then it leads, everything kind of forms back into it. So from the desert, you now get to see a little snow and Cape Mountains, and it, melds into the north, and the north melds into the east melds into the south. And that is how I want the design to be. So I want a mixture of, let's say, South Africa for landscape, North America has insane landscapes. Yellowstone National Park, California State has great landscapes. Um, Montana has great landscapes. Arizona has great landscapes, so I want those. Um, the coastline in Mozambique is remarkable, so I want that too. Tanzania has great landscapes. China has great magical landscapes. You know, Vietnam, and so India and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has phenomenal landscapes, so I want a mixture of this in my country. Germany, I still remember just going by train in Germany. I love the German landscape. It is phenomenal. Italy has great landscapes all the way up north to the Alps. It is the Dolomites, insane landscape. So I want to steal all of these, my favorite places, and make a fusion of it, designed in this way. I said in this way of kind of giving you guys a little insight on. So yeah, I love that. For my country, I want architecture to be more than just a discipline. Architecture is a part of our culture. I want it to be a part of how we see the world, as in architecture and our, the aesthetic design of our buildings, of materials we use, has to be special. It has to be purposeful. I want architecture and design to be part of almost the religious culture of the people, whereby it adds form to functionality, to utility, and gives life to it. It becomes a new organism when you design it with purpose. So I want a lot of architecture in my country. I want each state, each city will have its own architecture. So that's 8 cities, 4 towns, 4 villages. 8 cities, 4 towns, 4 villages for every. 8. We're going to have 8 cities in every state, 8 mega cities, and in each city we have 8 boroughs. So I want all the cities to have its own design, its own architecture, its own. So that's over 64 different types of architectural signatures would be in my country. So I mean, the state capital will be Baroque architecture. I love the Baroque architecture. It is just it is an architecture that gives that shows off our craftsmanship. It's a lot of ornamentation and illusory designs and angles on the facade. It is just a stupendous architectural style. So I want that in my capital. It's very complex and very opulent. So I want the capital state to be, to have a more Baroque architecture style, and then for at least the main cities in there. And then for the other guys, the other 4 states with their 8 cities each and towns and villages, I want completely different styles. I want brutalist architecture. I want Renaissance architecture, Art Nouveau architecture, contemporary architecture, ultra-modern architecture, Art Deco, Islamic architecture. So I want a mixture of all this. So I want architecture to be, frontline and center. And from the moment someone lands at one of my international airports, you are sold. It is just going to be an aesthetic country. I want that to be purposeful in my design. The political system. I want a progressive, centrist, liberal political ideology that permeates and is the backbone for the majority of how we view the world. I think from this position, from this perspective, I'm in a better position to change my mind and to alter things that needs correction. I have the right amount of empathy and the right amount of mindset to introduce even evolutionary ideas. So that's why I've always been progressive, and I've always wanted to be progressive in that mindset. Liberal in mindset that I am liberal in just in general. I do have a deep belief that the individual should be allowed to make decisions for themselves. But I want to be in the center because I also want to take into account other aspects of reality. I do not want to be an extreme liberal. I don't support that. I don't want to be an extreme left. I don't support that. Right in the middle gives me the ability to be swayed when I need to be swayed. And I want that option for my people. I believe from this perspective, and if you look at the most successful countries that we all run to for citizenships, and countries we look up to as countries that have the institutions and the systems set, these are these countries that are progressive and liberal in nature, and that's what I want. Also, for the political system, it's going to be a fusion of different ideas. There will be free elections, but there will be free elections. Everything you'll be free, but there will be some decisions that will be taken away from people. Certain expert decisions, professional decisions will be taken away from the overwhelming majority. So, and that includes elections for presidents, assignments for key roles and posts, and directions we should take for very specific disciplines, economic directions, scientific directions. This should be decided by council of experts. So I'm going to have councils, the Transport Council, the Science Council, Science Communication Council, Transport Councils, Transport Infrastructure Council, which will have another Transport Infrastructure Council. So you can design a transport system and then design and the engineering. So you can ideate on how you want to build the transport system. That's one aspect, and then actually building a transport system, making sure it's aesthetically appealing, its utility and its functionality is, will reach a certain a bare minimum, a certain metric that you've developed. So I obviously want a Tokyo transport system in terms of how it's super organized and its maintenance culture. There's a sense to it that it is the most effective rail transport company in the world, but I also want the aggressiveness of China, for example, on how they have consistently wanted to move out, and they have moved out and built and expanded their knowledge, their reach, and the expertise in the vertical of high-speed rail. So I want a combination of both. I want an institution that is run by experts that understand that institution. They live and breathe rail transport, road transport, air design. They understand the rules and the risks that happens within those verticals. So these are the guys that make the decision. The state just has to feel and see the outcome of a super uber high successful intermodal transport system in place. And I also don't think average individuals should be voting on serious economic matters. Look at Brexit, for example. Brexit was more of an economic and an immigration matter. So how would average individuals truly lend their voice? Average individuals are part of the mob. They can be pulled and swayed just based on emotional reasons. But if we have a council that can make decisions on certain key aspects that drives the entire group, I do not think it should be open to election. What you should vote for are things that can directly impact you. Borough and city elections. Yes, so we can bring in new innovations. President, we're not going to have presidential votes. We're going to have a presidential council and presidential institutions in which we have a governmental council, something like Singapore, and a one political party system, where the party is its main focus is this job in running the country. So every aspect of how a country is ran, from the economic standpoint, from the military standpoint, from a security standpoint, from a governance standpoint, from a law and order standpoint, from a macro and micro view, from anthropological standpoint, from a deeply historical standpoint. So this institution's life is understanding governance of small and large scale people. They're the ones that would have, so you would join from the age of 16 or 15 right out of high school, and you will be trained if you're interested in different forms of public work. And then internally, we will have a council of just past presidents, of people with high moral character and integrity, ethicists, and these are the guys that will get to elect a president. And we'll also utilize AI in putting the best people in the best positions, based on your skill and your expertise, in solving problems in specific verticals. With this in place, I don't need people voting in on this. So to be uber effective, I don't believe people should vote in on every single thing. I don't like the current political system, not because I don't personally like it. I've liked some pageantry, and there's some characters of presidents that you get to see and you get to like. But I don't think that is uber effective. And when it comes to something like governance, this is something that our highest, most selfless nature should come to light, because anything that affects the entire group has to be looked upon with just the highest amount of intelligence and resources available. It shouldn't be a popularity contest. I don't care about your personality. I don't care that you have to wear a red tie or a blue tie. I don't care if you're a cunt of a human being. I don't care if you're cheating on your wife. I don't care. I don't care if you're one of those guys that stick your hand into your butt and sniff your fingers all day long. Can you do the job? Do you have a special aptitude for macro decision making? Do you have a special aptitude for seeing angles, or for working with groups, or for designing systems? If you are this person, then I think you should be allowed to run. This is why I want a council in which, to get into the council, you get in from a young age and you're molded into becoming very specific type of person, or having very specific type of skills that are necessary to performing this task. So that's why I would rather have some sort of a government college in which everybody can be open to everybody. You're allowed to get in from the age of 16, and you will all your skill, every skill set required based on your interest in governance, in rulemaking, in governmental investigations, in public works. Architects that want to redesign our world will be able to get into the public office. And I believe in paying politicians and paying public staff and officials very, very well. So my ministers will be earning the same salaries as Fortune 500 CEOs, because I need you to compete on that level. I need the outcome to be on the same level. I want the Minister of Transport to be delivering like the CEO of Tesla. I want the Minister of Public Works to be delivering on projects and execution of projects. I want my hard secretary to be as good as the CEO of Arab. Do you understand? So this is the level I want, and I want the brightest minds to also be constantly interested in the public sector. And money and the ability to build just dreams is very attractive, and I want that for them. So that's why I believe the political system I would use and would be super effective would be to have some sort of college that would elect presidents, ministers, and people that would move the country from a macro perspective. And then people will only get to vote on borough elections and city elections that will directly affect them, and they'll be able to make laws and bring in and introduce new systems, perhaps that the government can learn from, on how to better accomplish objectives and tasks. The political systems I like, I want a mixture of, as I said, progressive, liberal, central. I don't feel I need a full conservative movement, because I believe there are many things about conservative movements that are necessary, that makes sense, that shouldn't be called conservative, it should be called common sense, and the government just adopts it, right? But the reason why I don't want a full conservative movement is I believe it comes with other things attached to it, and most of the things attached to it are unnecessary. So I am conservative in, let's say, from an economic standpoint. I'm also conservative on crime and immigration, but I'm liberal on everything else. I believe you should protect your borders. You should make sure you should be able to choose who comes into your country. You can choose even their ideologies if you want to. I don't think there's anything actually wrong with that. So I think some things in the conservative movement makes a lot of sense, and we should just implement it even in the Liberal government, which is done, but just make it substantial in a way that there will be no need for an actual conservative movement within the country. Liberal in the sense is actually a new way of thinking. It goes in line with our evolution of understanding, our understanding of morality, our understanding of ourselves. That is the birth of liberalism. So liberalism is not it utilizes and needs a lot of aspects of the conservative movement. You bring it together, you evolve that with our new knowledge and our new self. I think this is liberalism. So this would be my political system. We can delve in deeper, but this is it for now. But I want your take on it. Please feel free to try and educate your daddy. Religion. I don't want a religion in the sense of the organized religion we have now. I want a religion in the technical sense that I can create a system that people can aspire to, but mine will come without any promise of an afterlife, no magical stories and attached to it. But I want myths. I revere myth, and I want my people to have a respect for myths and stories of the past. I want that. But I do not want an organized religion. I do not want the Abrahamic religions. Shout out to all my Jewish brothers out there. But I don't want any of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. I want some of the tenets of Judaism and some of the ways of analyzing and looking at things that Judaism has brought in. I love the impact that Christianity has had in the West, that helped in spurring and contributing to Western ideals and the Enlightenment. In as far as the Enlightenment people did, there were aspects of that same revolutionary that people could take in, and also people could see aspects of Christianity that will not work and is not effective, and they fought against. So it was effective in that method. Islam, Arabs are easily my favorite or second favorite people. I grew up with Arabs, so a good number of my friends are Arab, from Lebanon to Lebanese, Jordanians, Mathris, Saudi. I got friends for friends, and I love these motherfuckers. What I love about Islam is how the Arabic culture has been utilized, in the best of the Arabic culture has been sipped into Islam in terms of charity and how you should treat your neighbors. A lot of it comes from the Arabic culture. The Arabic culture is actually kind, and the aspects of it that are very egalitarian. But there's also a clash with some of the rules and beliefs stated by Islam, and the same thing with Christianity. So I don't see these religions as necessary anymore. Whatever we can take from them, we can take from them and move forward. But I'm still happy to change my mind. I still listen to new data, so I'm happy to still change my mind. But for now, I don't feel the need for it. I want some of the tenets, and then we move forward. I want some of the philosophies of Hinduism and Buddhism. We take them, but I don't want to take anything to do with the magical aspect, anything to do with the irrational aspect, or with laws for how certain groups should be treated, or aspects on morality. Morality is very complex, and from our understanding of morality, it is constantly evolving. Look at the last century. Look at the last decade. Look at how our understanding of morality and our stances, has changed. We've basically been moving up and down some sort of moral landscape. So with that being said, I don't want to be arrogant to think I know all about morality. So that's why I don't want a religion that claims to know the end goal. We do not know the end goal from what we've noticed so far, and intelligence is still evolving. We're getting smarter and kinder and better in time. So I want that to continue. So I don't want a religion. I want just tenets that is based on science, reason, empathy, that's based on the expansion of science, that's based on true humility for knowledge, that is based on truly understanding suffering and pain, understanding how do we bridge that. So these are the things I want guiding me. I think with this guiding my culture, my religion, my tenets, I would do well, or my people would do well. This is how I want the internal mechanisms to work and how I think we can guide ourselves. If you combine these internal mechanisms with an external mechanisms, making sure we have the right tools in place, making sure we have the right tenets, making sure we have the right resources, the will, and we direct those resources fueled by our genuine, purposeful, directive pursuits. I believe we can do very well. Obviously, abject poverty is a no-no, so there'll be no abject poverty numbers will be 0%. It will, in the political system, it would also be a mixture of, it will be a mixture of capitalism and socialism. In the sense that I want capitalism because this is the vehicle that builds and generates not just resources but ideas. I want that, and I don't want to stop people from reaching the highest level there to reach. I believe there's a natural hierarchy. If I'm versed at solving a particular set of problems and I want to get paid for it, I think I should get paid for it. So I don't want to stop people. So what I'm going to do is just allow capitalism free, but we'll have regulations, certain rules we don't break. The self, nothing steps on the neck of a human, on the head of a human, and do not destroy the environment. If we're going to destroy the environment, we have to really weigh the cost-benefit analysis, and this will be done strictly from an empirical perspective. If the damage to the landscape is too much, we do not explore that project. We force our engineers, our scientists to come up with better. We give them resources, pay them, and see how we could solve that problem in a different way. We will not always pursue any avenue, irrespective of how necessary it is. We will wait and see that it does not really affect the landscape. It does not destroy the lives of people. Otherwise, we push. Socialism, I'm going to use socialism in the case of public services, not in the case of the political system. Just strictly in the case of public services. I believe the state must provide certain key services in order to be aligned with its values. So I'm aligned with human rights. I believe that the human, plain God, I believe in fundamental rights. I believe that we have invented the concept of fundamental rights, and that's fine. That this is how I want to play God. I don't want to play God by telling you who to love, who to fuck, what to eat, what to drink, what to wear. I want to play God in the sense that if we have ideals, we change laws and do things to achieve those ideals. So if I want human rights, I've invented the concept of human rights because I understand pain. I have empathy. I know what it feels like to be hurt. And I don't want you to be hurt. And the reason I want you to be hurt is because we're intelligent enough to understand the concept of unnecessary suffering. So if I can reduce their suffering, I will, because reduction in suffering is a plus. It's a positive. It's a net positive. In the increase in suffering, in physical suffering and ailments, is a net negative. So I want to make sure I do the things to reduce suffering and increase well-being, and giving a human control over himself, choices, freedoms and liberties, and not just liberties, but liberties to choose what matters best for him, and having resources available for him to pursue things, giving him the knowledge to know what is available and what will be the cost of all his decisions. I think this is where we should play God very well. I believe in that. So I definitely I believe that every citizen in my country must have a right to world-class education. So the best universities will be public. I will compete with the private sector. I will allow them to open their own universities, and I will compete with them to keep the government's level high. I'll make sure there's a public school in every single fucking borough. And even when you go to the residential areas, And the residential areas are further broken off. I'll make sure there's a school service in every 5,000 children or every 3,000 children. So I want to make sure everybody is given access to tools, access to the class. It doesn't mean you're going to get the same test result, but you'll be given the tools to go and compete. So I believe the government has to make sure it does that. So education has to be sorted. Transport infrastructure, that means the government will employ the smartest engineers and architects and builders and contractors to build world-class transport system that is cheap and affordable. Every citizen will have access to a transport system. If you have a job, the job will usually come with a card that allows you to use that, and we can pay it from your taxes. There will be no taxes on income, but there will be taxes on goods and products that you buy, and there will be taxes to corporations, but no taxes on profit, because I want you to make money. There will be no taxes on certain goods, because I want to push certain goods. You introduce the right amount of subsidies, not based on political plays, but based on the actual needs of the country. So these are how I want my tenets to guide my decisions and how I orchestrate this entire orchestra. It's an extremely difficult one because I will delve into some areas that might hurt people's feelings, or because everyone looks at culture from the perspective that they are correct, and I don't think that is correct. I think that's why the West have won. This is why I said I want us to have episodes on each. Like, we're going to have different episodes on the culture of this, or culture of a country. We'll have an entire episode, and then we can go deeper into what we can legalize, not legalize, rules of laws, what would drive cultures. We can have one on religions and so on and so forth. But for this, culture is a hard one. How do I want my people to be? I want us to be, let me put it this way, I want us to be the most peaceful people to our neighbors, not out of fear, but because we choose to be peaceful. We have the strength to wipe everybody out, but we choose to be peaceful because we have tenets that guide us. And these tenets should be the cultural tenets of my country. So my culture will replace the religion in this country. So we'll have a culture, and then we'll have national tenets, almost like we have, the Bill of Rights in the United States, or you have the Declaration of Independence, you have the pursuit of happiness. You need almost you need ideals that are bigger than the group. Okay, that is like how the United States or Western Europe have ideals of egalitarianism, of them being at the highest level, of there being social cohesion, and then together we move. And so I want our ideals to be much bigger than the group, okay? I want our culture to be defining of that. So I want our culture to do two things. First things first, I want a culture that builds a system where the least man has some options, but most importantly, he has his dignity. That's very important. And you do not build, it's easy, culture has been built by so many actors over a long period of time. It would be impossible for most people to go back and track all the tenets of their culture. Now, this is where I see a problem with Africa. My favorite places: Africa, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, most parts of South America. And if you look, these are also the most unsuccessful communities in the world. But these are the ones that have the most amount of resources and wealth and very intelligent people, great genetics. But they're doing bad. Abject poverty is still primary in these places. These places do not have, we can claim the cultures are nice and lovely, but there is no respect for human rights, true human rights. That's why when we run from our countries, we love to run to the West. Why is that? Is it just for economic reasons? I don't think so. Because what the West offers is what we all should be aiming for. We need the individual to have options. We need a society that looks at itself and looks at what drives it and then tries to alter what drives it. So you're not just driven blindly. I think the problem with culture is culture can lead people like blind bats from A to B. You have to choose where you're aligned. You have to choose that. I believe you have to choose the tenets of your culture. If there are aspects of your culture that does not bring in social cohesion, does not solve problems, remove that aspect of it. Look at it, dissect it. If your culture is bigger than you, I believe you've failed. I believe you should be bigger than your culture. This is this is the paintbrush I wanted to give you guys about the kingdom of cheese. God damn you, Mike Kelly. The kingdom of cheese. Let me know how you guys liked my take on it. If you have more questions, you want to break down on more things, design, the look, the feature, the laws, let me know, and I will answer your questions. I'm going to be more consistent on YouTube. I'm going to obviously drop an episode every week, so follow me on YouTube, Michael's Odyssey. Follow me on Instagram at Michael's Odyssey or Michael's, .Odyssey. You will find me. The logo is easy. Look at my face. So yeah, let's keep this ball rolling. Catch ya.